So I don't even know if we're going to watch the second Red video, but we're going to watch the one from yesterday because it's about the Nick Shirley video and the desperate attempts people are making to try and discredit Nick Shirley. Especially this moron. So let's jump in.
Hey, what's guys, Riff here. Would it shock you if I said Hassan Piker is a complete fraud? I know, get yourself back in your seat. I know you fell out of it when you heard that.
I'm shocked. Shocked! Well, not that shocked. Is this a day that ends in Y? I mean, come on.
Statement, because the guy who got quoted in Variety recently for saying, if something is wrong, I'm going to call it out. And if I can't call it out, then I can't do my job. Well, right now, Hassan Piker is being faced with a very real situation where there is a massive fraud scandal going on in the United States to the point where U.S. taxpayer dollars are funding terrorism overseas.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it turns out Hassan Piker has an issue with people not committing the fraud, but he has an issue with the people calling it out, including independent journalists who are basically doing exactly what he claims to be doing himself.
Well, one was to your point where he's saying he's butthurt because Nick Shirley is a better journalist than him. Hassan LARPed as a journalist. Yes, he did. He absolutely did LARP as a journalist when he went to the LA riots. He was wearing that bullshit tactical vest that had press, written in crayon on it. So he did LARP as a journalist just for content. But Hassan doesn't consider himself a journalist. He's never been a journalist, and he doesn't consider himself a journalist. Hassan considers himself a political pundit. That's what Hassan is always considered. He considers himself the left's greatest political pundit. That's what he considers himself. He's never never a journalist. But he's deluded himself into thinking that he's deluded himself into thinking that he is the face and the voice of the Democratic Party. When the Democratic Party is actually distancing themselves and decrying everything he says. But he still somehow believes that he is the face and the voice of the Democratic Party. In other words, he's batshit crazy. And desperate for clout so he can make more money off of the poor, stupid saps that actually believe the bullshit that comes spewing out of his mouth.
So for some context, and also a very interesting story, recently there was a massive fraud uncovered in the state of Minnesota, okay? The estimates on this are around $9 billion and growing every single day. So what's going on here? Well, there is a segment of the population that is from Somalia, and through fake daycare centers, fake medical services, and transportation services, they are basically sitting in empty rooms with no services being provided and collecting millions per facility across Minnesota, and they're collecting somewhere around $9+ billion at this point. In fact, the total is so high that it's almost exceeding the GDP of Somalia as a country. That's how bad it is.
And think about this. The money being scammed, there's a very crucial point here. The money being scammed from the taxpayers of Minnesota and getting sent to Somalia is not doing anything to bolster the country of Somalia. Like the fact, that they're defrauding literally the GDP of the very country that they're sending this money back to. So by all rights, their GDP should be double because they're stealing money and sending it back to the country. However, they're not sending it back to the government to actually bolster the country. They're sending it back to the terrorists that are contained within that country who are buying weapons, who are buying drugs, who are buying equipment so they can commit violence against Somalian citizens. That is a very crucial fucking point. They are literally providing the terrorists in Somalia The Somalian GDP levels of financing so the terrorists can take over that country. Because unlike the country of Somalia, they don't have to divvy up their GDP amongst things other than the military. They can divvy up the stuff between the military, infrastructure, food, whatever. When it's given to the terrorists, it literally the money given to the terrorists has one specific purpose in life, and that is to kill people. The money is literally earmarked for the express purposes of killing, raping, and pillaging the country. That's a big key difference there.
And of course, the governor of the state is Tim Walz, who's has a nickname, Tampon Tim, because he is obsessed with putting tampons in little boys' bathrooms at school. Yes, he considers it a badge of honor to be called that name because he's so proud of doing that disgusting, whatever you want to call that, demonic act. And then we have people like Nick Shirley, who is helping uncover all this fraud going on in Minnesota. Yes, he is an independent reporter. He's like 23 years old, and yet he's producing a story that no one else seems to want to do. And it's causing waves across the internet. Now, you might not see any coverage in the mainstream media, and that probably doesn't surprise people, but he released a...
Except we are. Certain mainstream... Well, I won't say mainstream media, but certain media agencies have picked up this story. It's basically like one stage down from, it's like one stage down from the Big Four. Did Fox actually picked up? I thought it was a news agency that was about one step down from Fox itself. Did Fox itself pick up the story? Because it wouldn't surprise me if it did. Okay, Fox was covering it. Okay, so basically one of the Big Four are covering it, and then you have other, like, double A news agencies that are covering it. But for sure, NBC, CBS, I do think CNN did cover it. Atanashi, I think you told me about this, that CNN did cover it, but they covered it very begrudgingly. I think, if I remember correctly, Atanashi mentioned to me that CNN did put out something on it, but it was like a kid that, they did it with all the gusto of a child being told you need to eat your Brussels sprouts or you won't get any dessert. So it is being picked up by mainstream media. It's just some are actually giving it the proper attention that it deserves, and some of the mainstream media are basically acting like, oh, this stupid YouTuber did a story. Pay no attention to it. It's all bullshit. We know it. Right. So it kind of is getting picked up by mainstream.
A very long documentary, 42 minutes, onto X, and you can see the amount of traction it's gotten. 574,000 likes, not views, likes. It has 114 million views. This documentary, this report on what's going on in Minnesota. And in one day, by just knocking on the doors of these businesses and asking them, where is the proof that you're doing what the taxpayer dollars are paying you to do? And they uncovered $110 million of fraud in one day by simply asking, what are you doing with this taxpayer dollars? They go to places like daycares that are getting millions of dollars per year and saying, where are the children? If you're a daycare center, why are there no children here?
And the spin that people are trying to use to discredit him is, number one, like I said earlier, how they're trying to basically do the spin of, well, this was happening during Christmas vacation, so of course there would be no kids there, ignoring, of course, the fact that daycares are not schools, daycares do not follow school calendars, daycares do not close for quote-unquote Christmas vacation. That's not a thing. Number two, you have people desperately trying to basically turn him into a pedophile. You have people literally calling Nick Shirley a pedophile because he was asking daycare centers, there are supposed to be children here. You are being paid millions of dollars by the government to care for children. Why are there no children here? And people are desperately trying to call him a pedophile for asking that question. It's the desperation to try and discredit him, smear him, drag his name through the dirt is absolutely insane and noteworthy. It is very noteworthy right now of how many people or which people are trying to make these accusations. Which people are coming up with these absolutely brain dead takes of the, oh, it's Christmas vacation, and the people trying to accuse him of being a pedophile. Those individuals should be taken note of. And their hard drives, I think, might need to be checked. Because the people that accuse someone of asking legitimate questions of being a pedophile are usually the ones that you need to be concerned about what's on their hard drives.
What's going on with this? It is a massive, massive scandal. In fact, this money is being traced to Al-Shabaab, a terrorist organization. One of the largest funders of that terrorist organization is taxpayer dollars in Minnesota because it's being transferred over there to support terrorism overseas. Now, who could possibly have an issue?
Wait, he was on Junior's podcast and said that people in Minnesota were putting bounties on his heads. And he said you were arranged for round-the-clock security. I hope that he's filed police reports about this. I really hope that Nick Shirley files police, like if he's being told there's bounties put on his head, I hope to God that he files police reports with local and federal police. And those people get arrested and thrown in jail. Yeah, that's why I said federal as well, Leo. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Is you get these people, and yes, in this day and age, it's the left that basically labels someone that goes against the message and labels them as a fascist, labels them as a Nazi, labels them as a pedophile, labels them as an istophobe, and they do that to dehumanize them. They're actively trying to dehumanize Nick Shirley to make it acceptable for him to be killed. That's what they're doing with this. And you see that. These people have dehumanized him, and they've put literal bounties on his head. And they're trying to actively get people to kill him because he's exposing the truth about the Somalian fraud that is funding terrorism. Doing that these days is enough to get you a death sentence.
With a reporter, a journalist, uncovering or helping uncover massive fraud involving taxpayer dollars that's also being used to fund terrorism overseas. That's right, you know exactly who we're talking about. Hassan Piker, who released possibly tweet of the year. I know we're closing out the year of 2025, but he might have tweet of the year right here. So he says this: I don't know what kind of fraud Somalis in daycares are doing, but I think it's a separate crime to try and storm with a camera into a daycare with kids in it.
Number one, Hassan, you are a delusional sociopath, and you need to have your media access taken away from you. Number one, I will get there. I will get there. Calm. I'm gonna get there. I will get there. I'm going to completely destroy his entire tweet here in order. Number one, storm with a camera. At no point did Nick storm into everything. He walked up and very politely spoke to every individual that he encountered. Every single person that he encountered at all of the daycares, he walked up and spoke to them very calmly and saying, you are rated to have X amount of children to care for here, and your child care is empty. Can you explain that? Very calming. There was no storming. There was no demanding. There was literally just walking up and calmly asking questions. And Hassan, of course, because he is a terrorist sympathizer and just loves it when terrorists kill innocent civilians, because Hassan wishes he could be a terrorist, but he never has the balls for it, so it'll never happen. But Hassan, the wannabe terrorist, of course, equates that to storming in somewhere with a camera. And then, of course, yes, the second part, into a daycare with kids in it, when every single daycare they went to had 0 kids. No, sorry. No, I'm sorry. No, correction. There was what? There was one daycare that they went to that did have kids in it, that did speak with him, and even talked to him about rates and gave him paperwork to basically sign up a child for daycare. There was one daycare. Yes, there was that. He didn't spend a great deal of time on it. I do kind of wish he'd spent a little bit more time on it to give it the credit that it was due. But towards the end, there was one daycare that let him in, talked with him. They actually had kids that they were tending to. They actually happily sat down with him, showed him the paperwork for signing up kids for the daycare. The woman was smiling and very, very pleasant with him. So one of the daycare centers that they did go to, what did seem legit. And it was, oh my God, yes, it was a Somalian daycare center. They were Somalian. Yes, they were. And he said there was one that he actually spoke about it specifically. Said there was one that we went into. They did have kids there. They were happy to sit down with me, talk about what's needed for, for a child to come into daycare, the paperwork to fill out. And yes, it was a Somalian daycare. Yes, it was. But that was the one place. One place that did that. Every other daycare center that they visited had no kids. Not one child in any of the other daycare centers. Most of them were locked.
I'm just going to show this before we react to it. 11,000 likes on 5.7 million views and 8,700 comments. He almost got ratioed by the number of comments. Okay, so he's basically saying this isn't happening, right? We're at this stage. So stage 1 was, it's not really happening. There's no fraud happening. And then step 2 was, it's happening. There's fraud happening, but it's not a big deal. At first they were coming out saying it's like millions of dollars, but now we're saying it's like $9+ billion. And then step 3, some people were saying, well, it's a good thing. It's helping out these people. And now we're in stage 4, step 4, basically saying, the people who are reporting on this, the people who have a problem with this massive fraud that's also funding terrorism, they're the real problem. It's not.
Slight disagree with Reb on this one. I think we are still at a twisted mix of step 1 and step 4. Because there are people that are still saying it's not really happening. And then there are also people saying freaking about it is the people that are freaking out about it are the real problem. So we're seeing a combo platter of step 1 and step 3 at this point. Step 2 and step 3, I don't think we've really hit. So we started at step 1. Step 1 has not gone away, bypassed 2 and 3, and jumped straight to step 4, while also maintaining facets of step 1.
The people committing the fraud, it's not the people supporting terrorism. It's the people reporting on it and exposing it for what it is. Yeah, that's Hassan. And also, if you go throughout the video, he knocks on doors, okay? Nick Shirley goes up, knocks on doors, and basically just shows empty buildings, okay, on the middle of the day.
And by the way, since his video came out, this place got shut down. This place, Quality Leering Center, actually did get shut down like the day after his video. I'm getting there. The day after his video came out, this place got shut down, and 1 day later, it opened back up again. It opened right back. It got shut down, and literally a day later, it got opened back up. Kind of like what we saw in the video where the investigator that Nick was working with said the same thing, that a place got shut down and the next day it reopened under new ownership. You hit? It happened again. Like these places and these places they shut down and open up a date later. They just like, oh, it's a different name now, but nothing's changed. It's still the same owners. We're just calling it something different. And they open it back up again. And I will guarantee you have people in the state government that deal with the investigations, that deal with the inspections, and they're working with them saying, listen, just shut down, rebrand yourself or open it up the net, like get a new ownership LLC ready, shut it down, open it up the next day under this name, and you're going to be fine. I will guarantee you that all of these illegal Somali daycare centers that are funding terrorism are working with the state government. The state government is, without a doubt, is actually working with these daycare centers, these illegal daycare centers that are funding terrorism, to help keep them open and help them game the system. I will guarantee it.
Where they're in their business operations, or if they're within their hours of business, the doors are completely locked and all of the windows are completely blacked out. You can't even see inside the building. In fact, if you look back here, this is the kind of stuff we're working with. This is a learning center. Oh, did you notice something about this learning center that's supposed to be like an education center? They misspelled learning on the front of the door.
Yep.
And this company is getting millions of dollars
the clip
in
heard around the
taxpayer
world.
money. Can you believe that? But Hassan's like, they're storming it while kids are there. There's no kids. There's literally no.
Okay, so that's actually a thing, not simply, John. People were when I in my video and I think on my Twitter, people were saying that someone did try one of the daycare center's phone numbers and it went to Tim Waltz's office. I thought that was a meme. That's actually a thing. That one of the daycare's phone numbers actually went to the governor's office. The phone number, like when they dialed the phone number for it, it went to the office. Wow. I thought it was a meme. I thought people were just making a joke meme. That actually happened. Wow. And Nux actually tried it and it worked. Holy cow. Wow. That's insane. God, that is insane. And then I don't know if Reb's going to talk about it, but apparently after Nick was here doing his interview and everything, they actually, to try and discredit Nick, I think it might have been a couple days later, I don't remember for sure, they actually bust in a whole mess of kids from out of town to come to this facility just to try and disprove Nick. They actually bust in kids from 2 or 3 towns over to this facility just to try and discredit Nick. They are absolutely in cover mode right now. At the in this city and Minnesota, they are absolutely in scramble cover mode. Yeah, Kirsten was talking. Yeah, they were busing kids in. They were also, I think we saw this in the video. They would have parents would bring their kids in. They would go into the daycare center, sit there for 5 minutes, and then both parent and child would depart, and they would fuck off and they would leave. And I think they were getting kickbacks from the daycare center for doing that, for actually going in, signing in their kid, and then taking their kid and leaving 5 minutes later. And I think they were getting a cut. They are absolutely scrambling to provide as much cover. The state is scrambling to cover these daycare centers as much as humanly possible to try and discredit Nick and any other previous reporters that have reported on this fraud.
No kids there. It's absolutely insane, and the comments are destroying him. Hassan will support literal pedophile terrorists, but exposing fraud where there's no kids nearby is creepy. Of course you'd say this. You are a horrible animal. Be gone, terrorist.
For God's sake.
Storm in. And they were just asking legit questions in a civil manner. You
Yeah.
really are an ideology first, word that YouTube doesn't like.
Wait. Ideology first, retard. Rev won't say it, he's got to say monetize. I'm not monetize. Yeah, Jay Viper says, you really are an ideology first, retard.
You really are an ideology first, word that YouTube doesn't like, I've learned. There seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere. Ha ha ha, you would say something stupid like this.
Nick
by
himself.
Nick, with 56,000 likes. Compare that to the 11,000 Hassan was able to get. Another one saying, there were no kids, Hassan. That's what made the fraud so egregious. That means bad. Yeah, we gotta help him out. Blair White saying, there were no kids. That's the entire point. Yeah, he should stick to wholesome activities like electrocuting dogs. Isn't it amazing that is his legacy?
Still around.
Everything.
Yeah, that's the one solace we could take. With all the bullshit that Hassan does, we can take a little bit of solace in the fact that Hassan's legacy will forever be that he shocked his dog. People will never let him forget about that. It is never going away. Everyone is always going to remind him, you shocked your dog. You're a dog torturer. You're a dog abuser. You shocked your dog. All the time.
He's tried to do, despite being propped up as a Nepo baby, with every advantage given to him, he's going to be known as the guy who shocks dogs. Isn't that just poetic?
Yep.
It's truly
Thank you, Mechanist.
Ladies and gentlemen. But let's continue on. Hassan had more to say.
Oh, yeah, and here we go.
Bleak future of all media. Vigilante content that can be weaponized for racialized / white nativist whatever. Everyone's going to behave like the fake pedo hunters, which is...
Okay, again. Terrorist Hassan is so... Yeah, I'm fine. Terrorist Hassan is so desperate to try and paint Nick Shirley as some, like, vigilante journalist that's storming into places and shoving cameras in people's faces and growling questions at them, when literally all he did... Oh, hang on, I have a phone call. Hang on a second. Telemarketers. Sorry about that. Telemarketer. Anyway, what was I saying? Fuck, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Yeah, he's desperate to try and paint Nick Shirley as just this rogue vigilante journalist when literally he just walked up to every person and spoke very calmly to him. No, it wasn't that kind of telemarketer. No, it was something for like health agency for Canada or something. I just hung up on him. But yeah, it was like he's oh so desperate to paint Nick as some like disgusting parasite when literally the video evidence alone, number one, showed him just calmly walking up to people and calmly speaking to people, just asking questions, not like shoving the camera in their face, not like growling out like angry questions at them, literally just asking questions in a calm manner, and people like running away because they're scared that he's going to expose them for the truth, and he just lets them go. And then doing this weaponized, radicalized, white nativist adjective prop. Bearing in mind, in all of Nick's video, the only person that brought up race in the video were the Somalians. That one Somalian woman that Nick interviewed, she is the only one in his entire video that brought up race and said, I'm afraid to talk to you because you're white. She's the only one that brought up race. At no point. Yeah, I'm afraid of you because of your color. She's the only one that brought up race. Nick did not bring up race at any point in his entire video. Not once. He did say that a couple of the business were Somalian-owned businesses because he could tell that they're Somalian-owned based upon the names and based upon the people that he spoke with, but that's a nationality. That's not an ethnicity. He never brought up race. The Somalians are the ones that brought up race, not Nick. But terrorist Hassan is desperately trying to make Nick look like a racist. Why? Because the people that he caters to use racism as a means of dehumanizing people, and therefore he's trying to dehumanize Nick Shirley so it's easier to kill him. That's what Hassan is doing. He's following the extremists' playbook by dehumanizing his target, so that way his rabid zombified followers will find it easier to kill him. That's what he's trying to do. He is literally trying to facilitate another person's murder by dehumanizing them.
Completely irrelevant to anything we're talking about because this guy literally just knocks on doors and asks questions like he's allowed to do. And
well, yeah. Sorry. Sal, you're absolutely right. If I was Nick, collect every single fucking tweet that Hassan says and talk to a lawyer. And file Nick, I think actually for once, Nick Shirley, I think, has an outstanding case of slander. I think he actually has an outstanding case of slander and defamation that he can bring up against Hassan and every other content creator that is calling him racist, that's calling him a pedophile, because he has received bounties on his head. He has received literal death threats. There is literally a threat to his life currently, and he has actually had to spend his own money to facilitate private security to keep him safe. He absolutely needs to collect all of these tweets that are saying this and go talk to a lawyer and say, let's get him in court. And actually take Hassan and every other person on social media that has tried to dehumanize him and basically facilitated a potential threat to his life and take them to court for slander, libel, and defamation. Absolutely. For once, I think we have a content creator that actually has a legit case that can be brought to court because there is now, because of people like terrorist Hassan, there is now a legit threat to his life because of what they said.
He's comparing, not just trying to make this sort of racialized claim here, but he's comparing this to the movie, which I think is based on a real story, Nightcrawler, where the scene he's depicting is where the main character is filming people who are the victims of an active burglary/murder. And instead of calling 911, he breaks in, films them, and doesn't help them at all, and then uses the footage as something he can turn into a profit. He's comparing that to someone quite literally just knocking on the door and asking questions. Again, as
yes, gasoline, because they do. That's why Hassan has never been banned. Twitch does endorse it. They absolutely do. They have endorsed the ideologies of Hassan for years. That's why Hassan can literally do anything he wants, because they support and endorse the same ideology. That's why he never gets banned. It's literally as simple as that.
You're allowed to do. But Nick would respond to the first tweet by Hassan saying people like this commie literally shock their dogs and complain about America 24/7. And when someone actually leaves their room to do something, wait for it, they then defend the criminals. Really, Hassan defending and even sympathizing with actual criminals?
Okay, I'm going to expound upon this a little bit. He's not defending the criminals of Minnesota. He's defending the terrorists that they're funding. Because leave us not forget, the fraud that is being perpetuated in Minnesota, at minimum Minnesota, is going to fund Islamic terrorist groups in Somalia. So he's not defending the criminals that are perpetuating the fraud in Minnesota. He's defending the Islamic terrorists that are the recipients of the money that is being defrauded from the state of Minnesota. That's why he's so desperate to defend it, because the Islamic terrorists are the recipients of the money. So he was doing let's not fuck with it. Okay, let's flip the script. Let us flip the script on this. If this was a case of fraud, if we saw the fraud that is being perpetuated in the state of Minnesota, $9 billion, and regardless if it was Somalians or whomever, and that money that was obtained via fraud was being sent to Israel, you don't think that Hassan would be absolutely losing his fucking mind and saying that the entire fucking state should be glassed for supporting Israel through fraud? Oh, you can bet he would. But because the fraud is supporting Islamic terrorists in Somalia, he's 100% on board. If this was going to Israel instead, he'd have a fucking coronary from screaming on string. Am I wrong? Tell me where the lie is. He absolutely would. Because Hassan is a wannabe Islamic terrorist. He so desperately wants to be an Islamic terrorist, so that's why he continues to cheer on any support, financial or otherwise, for Islamic terrorists. And that's why he is doing everything possible to try and defend Minnesota having this fraud perpetuated, because it's supporting the terrorist organizations that he so loves and so wishes that he could be a part of. If this was going to Israel, he'd be, who knows, God only knows what he would be screaming if it was going to Israel. And I hope to God that someone in his chat actually says that. I'm not calling for a brigading or anything like that. You guys know I will not allow brigading. But I do hope that someone else that is in his chat frequently has that same thought process that I just had, and asks him, or says to him, if this was going to Israel instead of Islamic terrorists in Somalia, you would be screaming your head off, demanding that the entire state and the country and the state of Israel be glassed into nothingness. I really fucking hope that someone calls him out on that.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, Hassan would reply to that saying, I traveled around the world and went to numerous protests, but since I wasn't trying...
You fucking larked at the protests, Hassan. Don't even try to pull the bullshit. You larked as press when you were only there for clout. You were there to get footage for your stream and to farm clout for your zombie followers, and that's it. Don't try and piss on our heads and tell us that it's sunshine.
To storm child care facilities with a cameraman crew screaming, show me the children now, it doesn't count. There's a proper way to conduct a thorough investigations, and you botched it for clickbait.
Yeah, Nick did not storm a child care facility and start shouting, show me the children now. Again, completely lying for clout. Because he's so desperate to defend the funding of Islamic terrorism. I'm gonna say this every time now. Every time Hassan tries to defend this and tries to basically smear someone like Nick who is exposing corruption like this, because he is desperate to have the funding of Islamic terrorism allowed. He is pro-Islamic terrorism, and he is desperately trying to defend the corruption and the illegal activities that are funding it. And that's what he's saying right here. He's saying, how dare you try and prove that illegal activities of the state of Minnesota are funding Islamic terrorism?
I think we need to leave Hassan in 2025. He's not even trying anymore. Like, he's not even trying to have any sort of a honest discussion about anything. He's trying to make it like this creepy thing where, like, Nick's walking up, kicking down doors, and screaming, like, where's the children? That's the whole point. Where are the kids? If you're a daycare center getting millions of dollars a year
Thank you, Stout.
to perform that function to care for children, why are there no children at your facility? And why are U.S. taxpayers giving money to fund this? It makes literally no sense whatsoever, and people see through it. He did imperfectly what no one else was doing and achieved the perfect result. You've never done one bit of journalism in your life. You're an opinion commentator / streamer. You went to protest to promote your brand. Everyone sees through this guy. Okay? He wishes he was Nick Shirley. Hassan views himself first, not as a Twitch streamer, but as a journalist. This is the most important thing in the world to this guy. He wants to be a respected journalist, but doesn't do anything.
Again, I'm going to disagree with Rev on that. I don't think he wants to be a journalist. I don't even think he wants to pretend to be a journalist. He wants to be considered the premier political pundit of the Democratic Party. That is what Hassan wants. He kind of like dips his toe into LARPing as a journalist for legitimacy, but that's not what he wants to be. He basically wants to be the guy that the Democratic Party comes to for advice. He basically wants to be like the golden child of the Democratic Party as like a quote-unquote strategist for them, when they're actually all distancing themselves from him. For fuck's sake, I will remind you that Zoran Mandani, when in the mayoral debate, actually decried what Hassan has said publicly. He decried everything that Hassan said in the public debate. But for some reason, Hassan still has aspirations to be just the Democrats' #1 pundit.
He sits in his chair, shocks his dog, cries, sympathizes with terrorists, obsesses with Asmongold, does those things that does not reflect what he actually views himself as. That's why
Desdar met with him before that. He met with him before that debate. And after the debate, when Hassan tried to get into the party, they said, you're not on the list. So he met with him before, and that was like for a photo op handshake before that debate, and that was it. After that, he distanced himself from him. He's like, no, I don't agree with anything that Hassan says. And when Hassan showed up to his victory party, they went, oh, sorry, you're not on the list. Fuck off.
That does not reflect what he actually views himself as. That's why he's so mad at people like Nick Shirley, because they get off their chair, go out, and do stuff to report on things. They actually make an effort and put something on the line, right? They make a real effort. And Hassan is so triggered by that. And you can see, like, people aren't even watching. He's not even watching the video. If he watched the video, he would know that he just walked up with a pair of Ray-Ban Meta glasses, recorded himself talking to people, and checked that there were people there. And then, again, the legacy of Hassan, the dog zapper. And then this person says, this was not a protest. These were empty daycare facilities getting reimbursed $172 million a year. But Hassan was...
It was 10 million. Or it was 110 million. At least the ones that were in the video. I don't know about the 172 million, but the ones that they discovered in the video were just 110, which is still a disgustingly large number.
$172 million a year. But Hassan wasn't done. Someone was basically trying to paint Nick Shirley as a Zionist because he went to the Israel-Gaza border to report on the war. And Hassan says he made the most Israel video demanding to see children in all these facilities. And when they didn't let him in, that was enough evidence of fraud. The most Israel video I've ever seen. Dude, this guy is absolutely brain broken. It's actually insane.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Nick ends up responding saying, I literally was a Mormon missionary for 2 years. I'm not a Zionist. I went to Israel with my own money and tried to figure out what's going on for myself and for my viewers so I can see firsthand versus from what a news studio would present and yada, yada, yada. The guy's basically making an honest effort to go out there and report on the...
And there's the issue. Is because someone is making an honest effort to give an unbiased opinion about something, to give as neutral as possible of opinion about something, and if it goes against what terrorist Piker stands for, then it's the most Israel thing possible. This guy is a hack, this guy's a fraud, this guy's a parasite, because he's not glazing up what terrorist Piker likes.
War. This guy, who was quoted as saying, if something is wrong, I'm going to call it out, sees mass corruption and terrorists being funded, and he says, I got a problem with the person reporting on it. That is Hassan Piker in a nutshell.
Because
but anyways,
they're against the Islamic
that's gonna do this
terrorists.
video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
Hassan, he's just brain dead. Hassan is basically his brain is gone. He, there's no helping him anymore. He's done. He's fucking done. He is completely exposed as being someone that will not listen. He doesn't care about logic, reason, facts. He doesn't care. He is the definitive SJA ideology of working off the vibes, and if it doesn't match the vibes, then it has to be a lie. And yeah, he's losing massive amounts of followers. Like he is hemorrhaging followers. He's view botting to get his numbers up. He's hemorrhaging followers. The ones that he still has, his own subscribers, years-long subscribers, are waking up and realizing, oh, this guy's a fucking retard, and are calling him out live on stream, and he's like banning them. He's like, he is absolutely spiraling. He's losing it. And if this keeps happening, I don't know. I don't know how much longer he has as like this big political streamer. The way he keeps the way he's just constantly crashing out, losing followers, losing subscribers, relying upon view bots to keep his numbers up, to keep him elevated in the algorithm. Honestly, I don't think if this continues, he may have to learn how to start putting the fries in the bag.